This video is produced by Maestria Media. Jar Jar Binks sits in the swamps of Naboo crying, frustrated that he'd been misunderstood so badly by his people. They'd cast him out, told him to leave, and treated him like garbage, all because he'd been a little bit clumsy. How? All alone, powerless, and lost. However, as he sits in those woods bawling his eyes out, something peculiar happens. A strange, calming voice comes from the shadows that Binks has never heard before. "What troubles you, young Gungan?" it asks. "Me's scared. Me's lonely. Me's having no people anymore. Me's be thinking that Me's gonna die." Jar Jar wails, once again throwing a sobbing fit. A tall Mune walks out from the shadows, his eyes bright, his head hooded. He takes off the hood, revealing his pale skin. "Don't worry, young Gungan. I know that you'll be okay. You have great prowess. Your physical skills are marvelous, and your knack for avoiding sticky situations is impeccable. It's almost like the Force itself has been guiding you towards something greater in life," the Mune says. Jar Jar lets out a huff. "Oh, muy, the Force. Me's not thinking that that's even real," he replies. The Mune merely smiles before reaching out his hand. Instantly, a stick from behind Jar Jar's head rushes towards him, nearly knocking the Gungan off the rock that he's patiently sitting on. Jar Jar gasps. "You know the Force?" he cries in disbelief. The Mune smiles. "Yes, I know the ways of the Force. I sense that you have potential to learn them too, my Gungan friend. Come with me. Let me teach you how to become strong. I'll help you become greater than any of the Gungans that kicked you from their city. You'll put them all to shame once I show you how to master the various pathways of wisdom that I possess. Together we can grow, and you'll never have to be alone or scared. Ever again." Jar Jar, still freshly wounded by being outcast, looks at the man and nods emphatically almost immediately. "Misa will join you, sir. We's gonna be bad," he cries. "Are you a Jedi?" he asks. The figure smiles. "I'm something far greater than a Jedi. I'll show you the true power of the Force." Then the pair walk through the woods together, ready to tackle their next challenge. Have you ever wondered what Star Wars would be like if Jar Jar was actually a Sith Lord? Well, if so, buckle up and settle in with a big bowl of Bantha Stew, because this story's for you. Get ready, because this one will be an absolute bombad doozy. When Jar Jar hops onto the dark ship alongside the mysterious Mune, he's excited for what's to come. This strange fellow had come into his life when he needed it most, out of the blue. Clearly, something had to be working within the mysteries of the Force that he understood so little about for this peculiar individual to come right in his moment of opportunity. "Me's so excited to be working with you, sir," Jar Jar exclaims. "Me's looking forward to—" In an instant, the Mune blasts him with a burst of Force lightning, knocking Jar Jar back against one of the walls. He cries out in pain, confused as to what he's done wrong. Flashes of Otogunga come back to him, but this time it was too late to leave. The ship had already lifted off, and Jar Jar was in the hands of this mysterious Mune. "You will address me as Master, furthermore," the Mune firmly states, his voice now ice cold. "You're clumsy, disorganized, unbalanced. It's no wonder why they kicked you out of that wretched city." Jar Jar feels seared, both physically by the lightning and emotionally by the words of the Mune, who had so graciously taken him in, or so it seemed. "Luckily, creature, I will be able to train you. I sense your potential. The Force comes off of you in waves. You're strong, Gungan. You'll just need to learn how to master your innate abilities." Jar Jar continues to cower in the corner, his hands shaking and his body frozen. The Mune ruffles around in his pocket for a moment, and then takes out a device that looks like a needle. "I'll need to verify that what I sense is correct," he muses. Then he walks over to Binks and stabs his arm harshly, causing the Gungan to jump in pain. "You're weak. We'll have to change that, the mutant says with a disgusted tone of voice. He pulls the needle from Jar Jar's arm, taking a look at the blood sample that he had drawn and the measurements displayed on the back of the device. His eyes widen with amazement. Incredible, the mutant says, his jaw dropping with surprise. These midichlorian numbers are unheard of. Jar Jar looks back at the mutant, his eyes holding hurt from the figure's betrayal. Misa no understand. Midichlorians? You used to be hurting Misa. Why? He asks. The mutant looks back at Jar Jar with a mixture of reverence and disgust. Clearly the Force had placed this creature into his path for a reason. Maybe this was the being that he had been looking for alongside his Padawan for years to continue the lineage of the Sith. Perhaps this poor, outcast, delirious Gungan was the key to everything. The mutant extends his hand to Jar Jar, his eyes softening again. Don't worry, my friends. All of this will make sense in due time. The mutant pauses, watching to see the cowering Gungan's response. Jar Jar merely stares blankly at him, his eyes filled with fear. Many across the galaxy know me as Higo Damask, my new friend. However, to those who know me best, I am known as Darth Plagueis. Plagueis reaches his hand towards Jar Jar, once more inviting him to stand. Binks waits for a moment, expecting more trickery, but then obliges when Plagueis doesn't try to hurt him again. As Jar Jar stands, Plagueis smiles. My friend, together we are going to do great things. I promise you that once I'm finished training you, nobody will ever take advantage of you again. Jar Jar smiles, a genuine expression of excitement on his face. Misa hoping so. Plagueis places his hand on top of Binks's back, leading him deeper into the bowels of his ship. Come now, get some rest. Soon we'll be on Coruscant, and I plan to introduce you to somebody very important. For the entirety of the flight back to Coruscant, Jar Jar sleeps, blissfully unaware of the going-ons of the galaxy. Plagueis, in contrast, can't focus his mind enough on meditation to shut out the noise and excitement that he feels about his newest prospect. For the entire trip, he gleefully daydreams about how he could train Jar Jar and make him into a formidable Sith prodigy. Even if he was breaking the rule of two by taking on a new apprentice, the galaxy would soon be his anyway, with Palpatine rising through the ranks of the Galactic Senate and Damask Holdings controlling a significant stake in the banking clan. It was theirs for the taking. One more Sith apprentice would surely not cannibalize their dreams, as Darth Bane had envisioned. Plagueis' ship arrives in the dingy industrial sector of Coruscant, landing at one of the eerie buildings clouded by pollution and dust that cast an orange glow across the entire sector. As the ship lands, Jar Jar begins to stir, waking from his deep slumber. When he fully comes to consciousness, Plagueis stands above him, his face twisted into a menacing smile. We've arrived, my Gungan friend, the mutant says. Misa's so excited, Jar Jar replies. When they leave the ship, entering the dingy industrial building in the dark corner of the galactic metropolis, Plagueis and Jar Jar see a man in deep black robes. His face is concealed, and Binks can only see his lips. However, there's something about this man that feels familiar. Master Plagueis, the mysterious man says, bowing to one knee. Rise, my apprentice, Plagueis replies. Then Plagueis turns to Jar Jar. Do you sense it, Sidious? He asks. Sidious nods. The Force flows through this peculiar Gungan. Hey, Misa no peculiar, Jar Jar blurts out. The two Sith ignore him. He's clumsy, but he has the potential to be a powerful Sith. Perhaps one day he could even help further our plans. Plagueis says, maybe it would be a good test of patience for your new assassin to train this one. You think that Maul could teach him? Sidious clarifies. He's young and bloodthirsty. He's no teacher. Ah, but he could be, apprentice. Now he is merely a weapon for us to wield. But if he teaches another, he could truly learn to become a Sith. Sidious pauses, contemplating this idea with hesitancy. You can mentor Maul as I have mentored you, apprentice. Show him how to be a teacher in the ways of the Sith. After a moment of contemplation, Sidious nods. It will further our plan greatly. I will call Maul to Coruscant. We will begin training shortly. Plagueis smiles. We may not be following the traditional ways of our predecessor, apprentice. However, I sense that our time for galactic domination is close. Soon, we will reshape this galaxy in our image of success. The strength of the Sith shall prevail. Palpatine nods. Yes, Master. Your vision will lead us into the future. Plagueis once more turns to Binks. Sidious will take you now. Welcome to the family, Jar Jar. Soon, all will be revealed to you. Jar Jar nods ecstatically. Me so excited, Master Plagueis. We's are gonna be the most bad team. Sidious nods. Oh yes, you and Maul will get along very well. Plagueis then nods to Sidious. Until our next visit, my friend. I look forward to seeing you at the pod race on Maestria. I should have some updates for you about Damask holdings at that time. Sidious once again lowers himself to one knee. I look forward to it, my master. Then Plagueis turns, departing towards his ship with a dignified air of aristocratic purpose. Binks looks at Sidious, his eyes excited. What we gonna do now? He inquires. Sidious's lip curls into a despicable smirk, his yellow eyes lighting up underneath his hood. My friend, Maul will shape you into the warrior that you were always destined to become. Sidious places his hand on Jar Jar's shoulder. Come now, friend. While we wait for my apprentice, let us discuss your story. I want to know everything about you, so that I can teach you well. Then, the two walk towards Sidious's ship, ready to embark on a new journey together. For a couple of days, Jar Jar stays in an expensive suite on Coruscant with Sidious. The mysterious man leaves his hood on for their entire meeting, but Binks doesn't feel anything peculiar about this. Sidious listens to the Gungan, understanding how hurt he was by his people. He feeds into this, telling Binks that they deserve revenge and justice. The power that we will teach you far exceeds anything that your people could administer to you. You will have your revenge, Sidious tells him. One morning, when Jar Jar wakes up, a new face is there to greet him outside of his quarters. It's another hooded figure, whose face is concealed behind a layer of black fabric. Ooh, new friend! Misa so excited, Binks says. However, immediately after he speaks, the new figure reaches his hand out in a claw shape. Binks' throat constricts and his hands go to his neck as his airways close. His eyes begin to bulge, and his body fills with fear. Just as Binks is about to go unconscious, the figure lowers his hand. Binks takes a heavy gulp of air. Then, the figure lowers his hood, displaying a devilish red face adorned by horns and black tattoos. For a moment, Jar Jar is paralyzed in fear as he stares into the demon's yellow eyes, frightened by his foul smirk and pointed teeth. Jar Jar, this is Maul. He will be your teacher in the ways of the Force, Sidious states. Binks looks at Sidious in shock. He's so scary, he cries. Maul looks back at Jar Jar. That fear will fuel you, apprentice. Our training will make you into an ultimate weapon. Then you shall have your revenge. Sidious cackles. I'll leave you two to your business. Soon, under the tutelage of Darth Maul, you will become more powerful than you ever could have dreamed. Maul, update me on this Gungan's progress. Yes, my master, Maul replies, taking a bow before Sidious departs. Immediately after Sidious is gone, Maul snarls at Binks. Listen to me, Gungan. I am going to mold you into the perfect Sith, just like my teacher did for me. I will teach you their ways, and I will show you how to get revenge on all who wronged you. Eventually, We will control the galaxy. For a moment, Jar Jar is taken aback. Maul's ferocity reminds him of an anger that he had first seen in Plagueis on Naboo. However, this time, Binks has a respect for the ambition and drive of the Sith. He also feels such an anger towards Boss Nass and the Gungans for their treatment of him. Plagueis and Sidious had nurtured that rage inside of him. Binks was poised to become an incredible Sith. Soon, under the tutelage of Maul, Jar Jar would be molded into an unstoppable weapon, the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. On the first day of their training, Maul takes Jar Jar into a dingy, ill-lit section of a Coruscant building and immediately begins his lessons. Just as promised. What do you think it means to be a Sith, Gungan? Maul muses. Jar Jar stumbles. Give me an answer, Maul demands. Me's thinking that it be about you hating decent people, Jar Jar replies. Maul smirks in amusement. You're somewhat correct. Then, Maul fires a small burst of Force lightning at Jar Jar, catching the Gungan off guard, shocking him. Hey! Jar Jar explains. To start, Gungan, you will address me as master or teacher going forward. We are not equals, Maul begins. And next, we'll have to work on that ridiculous accent. Maul strides towards Jar Jar and places his arm around the Gungan's shoulder. Being a Sith is more than simply anger, my new friend. It's about power, the hate, the rage, the frustration that you experience. Jedi would teach you to suppress these emotions, but Sith teach you to embrace them, to find true freedom. Jar Jar listens, captivated by Maul's presence. There is nothing inherently wrong with these darker emotions. The Jedi and the weak Republic simply seek to repress what gives the galaxy true freedom. Jar Jar cocks his head. Misa don't know much about the Jedi. Misa heard stories, but Misa thought that they were the good guys. Maul lets out a bellowing laugh, then shoves Jar Jar into the wall with the Force. You think that the Jedi are the good guys? He cackles. Maul then walks towards Binks, looking him in the eye, instilling fear into the Gungan once more. However, this time, Jar Jar is more accustomed to the Dathomirian's sadistic approach. The fear inside of him turns to anger, and Jar Jar's feeling of an immense hatred towards Maul begins to materialize. I sense your anger, Gungan. I understand your fear. I felt the same way with my master, Sidious, who felt the same way about his master, Plagueis, the one who found you. It is the way of the Sith, to fear your teacher in order to understand their ways. Embrace it, let it flow through you. The Jedi would never tell you to let these passions loose. In their foolish dogma, they would tell you to hide them inside, and not embrace your pain to claim the place in the galaxy. The Jedi enforce their weak view of morality of the galaxy. And we, the Sith, seek to free people from this weakness and guide them towards our light. Jar Jar can't help but feel invigorated by Maul's words. He closes his eyes, allowing his emotions to flow. Reach out with your anger, Gungan. Use your fear to motivate you. Let it move you to action. Do not be weak. Strike back! In the middle of Maul's monologue, Jar Jar raises his hand. Immediately, a small blast of Force energy emanates from his being, pushing Maul backwards and releasing his grip on the Gungan. It isn't very much, but it's a start. Jar Jar's face lights up with confusion. How did Misa do that? He asks. Maul's face contorts into a twisted smile. You're connecting with yourself, Gungan. That's good. You're feeling your emotions and allowing them to fuel you. Binks kneels on the floor, panting with exertion. How can Misa learn more of this power? Misa wanted to kill those who wronged me. Misa wanted justice. Misa wanted revenge. Maul places his hand on his apprentice's shoulder. Jar Jar looks up, seeing Maul's Sith glee displayed with pride on his face. Now you're thinking like a Sith. Come now, apprentice. Together we will unlock the secrets of the dark side, and we shall have revenge on all who do us wrong. For the next few months, Maul trains with Binks. He watches as the Gungan grows in power, prominence, and rage. He trains him in the art of lightsaber combat, giving the clumsy Gungan many scars with his twin sabers. However, eventually, Binks learns how to fight well with the weapon. Every week, Maul meets with his shadowy master, telling him about Binks' progress. The Gungan grows in strength every day, Lord Sidious, Maul says one night as he walks with his master across the shadowy balcony on a quiet Coruscant night. He grasps the ways of the dark side and embraces the pain the way that I have not seen before. Some days his power even rivals my own. This is good, Maul. You have done well. The Gungan will serve our interests perfectly. Every day we go closer to usurping the Republic and defeating the Jedi. Continue feeding into his hatred. Give him what he wants. I believe that now is the time for him to go on his first quest. If he truly is worthy to be a Sith, the Gungan will be able to kill a Jedi for their crystal and bleed it red. Tell me when he is finished. If he dies, well... Sidious pauses for a moment, allowing himself to collect his thoughts. Then he was never destined to be a Sith. Maul nods. Understood, my master. When Maul returns, he tells his apprentice about the mission. He explains the historical tradition of the Sith, and he tells Jar Jar that it's his time to follow through with it. Soon, he would be officially accepted into the lineage. This challenge is yours, Jar Jar. I will let you hunt a Jedi of your own. Then you will go to Mustafar and venture into the lava caves to bleed your crystal. You will encounter your worst nightmares on this journey, apprentice, and you will have to embrace parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed. If you pass, you will be a true Sith. If you fail, then you will die. Do you accept this path, Jar Jar? Maul asks. Binks nods. Misa ready. Misa gonna be the most bombad Sith this galaxy has seen. Misa gonna have my revenge. Then go, Jar Jar. I will continue to do the bidding of Sidious, and you shall embark on your journey. May we reunite soon, my apprentice. Jar Jar bows his head in respect. Misa won't disappoint. The next day, Jar Jar begins his hunt. He rummages around the underbelly of Coruscant, waiting to find his prime target. He even monitors the activity of Jedi entering and leaving the temple, following them and trying to understand their patterns better. Eventually, Jar Jar selects his target. He discovers a Jedi Master and his apprentice that frequently leave the temple to explore the Coruscant underworld. Jar Jar stalks them, watching the two of them go into the depths of the city and help the actual underprivileged in the galaxy. Jar Jar is somewhat surprised. Maul had convinced him that the Jedi simply sat in their ivory towers and imposed their morality on the rest of the galaxy. However, it seemed like there were at least some who practiced what they preached. Just because Binks might respect a few of the Jedi didn't mean that he hadn't experienced hatred for them, though. Their order, their institution, their arrogant dominance of the galaxy, it was enough to make him sick. They were just like the Gungan people who had exiled him. Additionally, these Jedi were all still weak. All of the people in the Coruscant underworld dominated by strength, not by helping others. The criminals and the people who survived in these depths didn't need a helping hand. What they needed was grit, resilience, and strength, something that the Jedi seemed to have forgotten. As Jar Jar's prey moves into a dingy back alleyway with nobody else around, Jar Jar makes his move. He hops down from the shadowy balcony above that he'd been using, cornering the Jedi. The two of them, one Rodian and one human, whirl around in shock. Hey! The human exclaims. Who are you? Binks looks at them, his face concealed by a dark hood. Misa's Yusa worst nightmare, he says. Then he unleashes a blast of force energy that knocks the two Jedi against a nearby building. They both cry out in agony, but Jar Jar relishes it. He holds his hand, pressing them both backwards even tighter into the wall. The Rodian reaches for his side, squirming and trying to pull his lightsaber from his belt. Jar Jar drops the human Jedi, focusing all of his attention on the Rodian. Misa gonna take that, he says, approaching the Jedi. There's fear in the Rodian's sparkly eyes as Binks reaches out and grabs onto the hilt, igniting the saber as he does so. It glows blue, and Jar Jar smiles with malicious glee. Then, he stabs the Rhodian Jedi with their own blade, laughing as he does so. "No!" the human Jedi calls back. Jar Jar proceeds to throw his new saber at the other Jedi, killing him without even looking as the weapon cuts through flesh. Binks then walks towards the fallen warrior and picks up his lightsaber as well, smiling. He knows that in the future, Jedi would be harder to kill. He'd caught these two off guard. After training with Maul, he'd learned to conceal his presence in the Force. Additionally, none of the Jedi would even think to try and sense a Sith threat. To their knowledge and in their arrogant understanding, the Sith had been gone for thousands of years. Soon, though, they would return, and the Jedi would see just how naive they had been for millennia. Next, Jar Jar sits in one of the Sith interceptors, sitting in the hangar bay of Maul's secret fortress, ready to depart for Mustafar. He hadn't been there before, and he'd only heard stories from his teachers about what the planet was like. As he takes off, he watches the streets of Coruscant disappear behind him, excited for his new adventure. He looks forward to finally becoming one of the legendary Sith that he'd heard so much about. Malgus, Revan, Nihilus, Scion, all of them had sounded absolutely legendary, and Jar Jar couldn't wait to take his place among the great halls of the Sith Lords from the past. As he enters hyperspace, Jar Jar places the starship on autopilot, retreating to his chambers for meditation. While he flies through the galaxy, he allows his rage to flow through him, strengthening his connection to the dark side. He envisions himself manifesting this power, slaying not only his former Gungan oppressors, but also his teachers, the ones who had shown him the ways of the Force. While Binks appreciated their tutelage, he also knew that eventually he would grow stronger than all of them combined. His midichlorian count was even higher than Master Yoda's, whom he had heard was a legendary Jedi Master at the highest of their pathetic order. Fueling his ambition by practicing this meditation fills Jar Jar with glee, excited for his dark future as ruler of the galaxy and vanquisher of the Jedi. Binks' eyes snap open when his Sith interceptor enters the orbit of Mustafar. He sees the boiling darkness of the planet below, sensing the Force nexus underneath him. His mind is focused on one thing as he stands on the deck of his ship and lands on the black sands of the planet. Domination. When he hears the shifting sands crunching beneath his feet, Jar Jar reaches out with his hand, using the Force to guide him towards the caves below. Jar Jar shifts into another meditative state, sensing the energy flowing around him to push him towards the depths. As Binks enters the caves, he opens his eyes and ignites the twin sabers that he'd captured, wondering what would be next. Surprisingly, as Jar Jar navigates the Nexus, things are quiet. Too quiet for his liking. As Jar Jar continues to approach the center of the cavernous expanse below him, he starts to hear voices whispering in the shadows. He whirls around, wondering what he'd heard. However, when he twists to see who it was behind him, there's nothing there. So Jar Jar continues to search, diving deep as he can into the darkness and the heart of the cave, believed to be beneath this heaven-forsaken world. The voices continue to grow louder, though, tormenting Jar Jar. He can't understand what they're saying. They seem to be speaking in an ancient tongue that he'd never heard before. Still, though, Jar Jar feels their presence. He begins to see red mists surrounding him, circling him, trapping him in a sea of crimson. Binks wraps his hand around his large ears, letting out a roar of frustration. He tries to strike at the cloud, but his hand merely swipes and misses as voices continue to become louder, chanting in ancient Sith tongues. As Jar Jar continues to deal with his torment, a moment of reprieve is offered. The mist takes shape, and suddenly Jar Jar stands on Naboo. Standing in front of him is someone that he'd thought about since the day that Plagueis had picked him up from the jungle. Binks is in an Otogunga courtroom, his hands bound, gazing into the eyes of the tyrannical Boss Ruger Nass, his exiler. For a moment, Binks is confused. Then Nass speaks, and he's fully immersed in whatever had consumed him. "Yusa in be, Dudu Jar Jar," Nass says. "Yusa been banished, but Yusa came back. Yusa finished. Yusa gotta be bombard executed for Yusa crimes. Misa tried to be merciful, but Yusa disobeyed. Binks looks around in fear, seeing Captain Tarple standing beside him with a large Gungan spear that was used to impale those who violated the conditions of their banishment.
"No," Binks says. "Misa strong now. Misa gonna kill you, sir."
Boss Nass laughs his hearty, bellowing laugh. "You sa nothing, Binks. You sa people hate you sa. You sa weak, you sa clumsy, you sa disgusting. Bantha poodoo. Misa think that the galaxy will be better without you sa." The council of bosses and the masses gather around Jar Jar, sentencing, jeer at him in agreement, their hatred palpable. Anger, fear, and frustration boil within the Gungan as Tarples moves closer with a smile on his face. "Misa gonna enjoy this," the captain says.
"No!"
Jar Jar cries out. Then he feels the pain of the spear impaling his side. He cries out in agony, but Binks knows that the pain is his first key to power. He uses this physical and emotional turmoil to fuel him, channeling his anger into the Force. He reaches out his hand and grabs Tarples by the neck, watching his eyes bulge. Then he blasts a barrage of Force lightning at Boss Nass, looking deep into the Gungan leader's eyes as he does so. "Now, you'sa gotta feel the pain that you'sa caused me," Binks says, feeling the power flow through him. Suddenly, Jar Jar snaps out of his vision. When he returns to the realm of reality, the red mist dissipates, and his breathing is heavy. Then, Binks notices something phenomenal. In his hands, he sees that the crystals had bled red, casting an eerie glow on the caves. Binks collapses for a moment in exhaustion, but his spirit is content. The energy of anger was intoxicating. For an instant, Jar Jar indulges in this feeling of simultaneous hatred and bliss, simply laying in the cavern, laughing maniacally to himself. Then, after some time recuperating, Binks stands, returning to his Sith interceptor. As soon as he puts the course for Coruscant, Jar Jar returns to his chambers and falls asleep, satisfied with how he'd faced his pain. When Binks arrives back on Coruscant, he stirs from his slumber. As the interceptor returns to his place in the dingy industrial district, Jar Jar is surprised to not only sense the presence of Maul, but also Sidious and Plagueis. When he lands, the three of them stand in the hangar bay, waiting for him. As soon as the ship lands and Jar Jar steps foot into the building, he bows, bending his knee to his superiors. "Rise, Binks," Sidious says, a small smirk being revealed under his hood. As Jar Jar stands, Maul places his hand on the Gungan's shoulder. "Ah, my apprentice. In my travels with Sidious, I was gifted a vision. I sensed you embracing your inner darkness, suffering to the point where your crystals bled, and you truly became a Sith. Tell me, Jar Jar, is this true?" Binks smiles, baring his pointed teeth. He pulls out the sabers and ignites them, displaying them for his teachers. Maul's face lights up with dark ecstasy. "Splendid, my student. You see, I told you that my vision was correct," Maul exclaims, gesturing to his apprentice with pride. "You are truly proving yourself worthy of learning our ways, young Gungan. It's good to see that we were right about you," Plagueis says. "Thank you, sir," Binks says, smiling with glee. "Now that you've proven yourself to be one of us, it's time that you have what was promised to you when you first joined our ranks," Plagueis indicates to Jar Jar. "Your reward for your hard work will be another mission." The Sith Masters pause, smiles curling on all of their lips. "To Ota Gunga." Jar Jar's eyes light up. "Really? You wanted Misa to do something there?" "You have finally earned the opportunity that you have been dreaming of. I want you to slay Boss Ruger Nass, along with all who oppose you during the process. You've earned this honor, Jar Jar. Now go, take your revenge," Maul says with glee. Jar Jar rises, nodding earnestly. "Misa gonna make them bombats suffer. Misa gonna show the Gungans that Misa the big boss now." Plagueis chuckles. "Yes, my boy, take your place on the Gungan throne. Show them who their true masters are. Make them suffer." Jar Jar rises, and then turns towards his interceptor. As he rises through the bustling skies of Coruscant, his heart pounds. He's ready to show Boss Nass that he wasn't just a clumsy discard. Instead, he had power and potential that the Sith had seen in him. If only the Gungans had recognized this in him before they cast him out, they would have been spared. Maybe Jar Jar would have even become Bombad General. Not now, though. Binks was far beyond seeking apology. As he quietly lands in the jungles of Naboo following his long journey in dark ruminations, Binks puts on his black robes, a smile twisting onto his lips. He quietly maneuvers through the forest, remembering all of the twists and turns like it was yesterday. His newfound Sith coordination allows him to run with speeds he couldn't have even imagined mere months ago when he'd started his training. Tapping into the dark side felt so liberating. Jar Jar feels freer than he ever had before. When he reaches the lake, Jar Jar takes a moment to contemplate his life up to this point. Everyone had treated him as a failure growing up, even though he'd simply been clumsy. They had underestimated him, treated him like garbage, tossed him aside. The Sith, while they could sometimes be cruel, had provided Jar Jar with a purpose that he had never recognized in himself before. They had brought his confidence back after he'd been brought to his lowest point. And all that Jar Jar wanted to do was prove to Boss Nass and the other Gungans that he was more than they ever could have dreamed of. So, Jar Jar dives into the water, swimming quickly through the dark haze that consumed him as he swims deeper and deeper, until he's finally able to see the glistening bubbles of Otogunga. They were so beautiful, glittering under the sea, but their beauty was deceptive. That's where all of Jar Jar's worst memories came from. Oddly, though, as Binks approaches the city, he feels an air of gratitude towards his former people. After all, they were the ones who'd forged him into who he was today. Finally, after sensing his way towards his destination, Jar Jar finds his target. While the rest of the city looks very similar to this particular bubble, Binks can sense the presence of his sworn enemies. He conceals his presence in the Force and enters the chamber of the Council of Bosses. First and foremost, Binks can sense his nemesis, Boss Ruger Nass, and he enters the bubble, undetected by anyone. Gungan pride made them think that their city would be safe and undetectable from everyone. However, this simply was not the case. When Binks enters the bubble, the bosses are in the middle of a meeting. He can hear their bombastic voices clashing as they always had, and he can see Boss Nass doing the disgusting slobbering to assert himself over his fellow politicians. The moment that Binks tumbles to the floor, landing perfectly, hitting it with silence, the bosses look in his direction. Binks's hood is still up, and his face is hidden.
Hey, you are no supposed to be here,
Boss Nass rumbles, pointing his green sausagey fingers at Binks.
Who do you think that you are?
Binks merely smiles, an evil, toothy grin emerging under his hood.
Misa called revenge,
he replies. Then Binks ignites his saber, an eerie glow illuminating the underwater room with a red hue. Then, as the bosses are crying out in fear and astonishment, Jar Jar throws it, decapitating half of them immediately. As their lifeless bodies tumble to the floor, Jar Jar slowly approaches Boss Nass and the other Gungans who are on his other side. Nass, the one who had called himself a warrior for his entire life, now stands in front of Jar Jar, trembling, his yellow eyes wide with fear.
Why do you do this? Misa begging for Bombad mercy. Misa just wanted to do what's best for Misa people.
His voice pleads, dripping in helplessness. Then, Jar Jar lowers his hood, revealing his face to his former tormentor.
Do you know Misa now?
Binks asks, hatred emanating from his presence. In an instant, Nass knows who he's looking at.
Binks! Misa could make you exile go away. Misa sorry. Misa no seeing you sa.
While Nass bumbles through an apology, Binks grows tired of his weakness. He fires a bolt of force lightning at the boss, causing Nass to whimper in pain.
Oh, don't worry, Ruger. Misa no gonna kill you, sa. Misa gonna do something worse. You sa in some big doo-doo this time.
Jar Jar then looks at the other bosses. He sees the terrified expressions of their faces as their hands shake with fear, and in that instant, he makes a decision.
Misa gonna have mercy on them, though, he says to Nass. You sa loyalists deserve a quick, easy death.
As their eyes widen and please begin, Jar Jar smiles sadistically.
Don't you so worry. You's gonna die painlessly.
Then Jar Jar once again throws his saber, decapitating each of the old bosses before they fully even realize what's happening. Their last expressions are tinged with absolute fear of the monster that Binks had become.
Now, Boss Nass, you's gonna do what Misa say. You's gonna feel the pain that you's gave me. Misa gonna hurt you, Big Boss Nass, and you's gonna be mine.
As Boss Nass, the ruthless warrior king, whimpers for Jar Jar's mercy, Binks lifts Nass into the air with a vicious force choke. The Gungan ruler grasps at his neck, his eyes bulging in his throat, making noises desperate for oxygen. Binks is excited, happy to see that Nass had now become his object.
You's gonna be my subject now,
Binks says, dropping his former oppressor to the floor.
You's gonna be my slave, or you's gonna be in pain. You's understand?
Boss Nass kneels.
Misa understand, he says. You's bested Misa, Binks. Misa sorry.
Jar Jar shakes his head.
It's too late for you's to say sorry. You send some big doo-doo this time.
Now, Jar Jar was in charge of the Gungans. He would make his master proud. When Binks communes with Maul, showing him Nass in chains before him, the Dathomirian Sith laughs.
Good, my apprentice. You found a way to torment him far worse than death. You made him your slave, shown him your superiority. Now, take this control of your people. Dominate them. Show them the might of a Sith. This will be valuable for us in the future, he says. Our masters will be pleased.
Binks bows.
Misa happy, my master. Misa gonna rule these people who humiliated Misa. You're becoming a true Sith. I'm proud of you, Binks. So proud that I think it's time for you to receive your final Sith name. You've earned it. Darth Vengeance, Maul says.
Binks is elated. Finally, he was no longer the Gungan who had been exiled from his people for his clumsiness. Now he was Darth Vengeance, the Sith who had gained immense power. He would treat his people in the way that he had been taught. He would rule them with an iron fist. When Binks goes to announce his rule to the Gungans, he does so with Nass in chains. The former boss convenes the military and other political leaders of the city, but it isn't to address them. It's for Jar Jar to announce that he has taken over the city, and that those who refuse to follow him would meet the same fate as the bosses whose heads were littered around the floor of the government building. Scared to lose their lives, they all pledged their allegiance to Binks, especially after seeing how he had humiliated Boss Nass in a way that nobody ever had before. They could see that Jar Jar had become something awe-inspiring. Even Tarpals, who had known Binks before he was exiled, could sense a change in the Gungan who had been too clumsy to live among their society.
We's gonna have some big, bad changes around here, Binks says. We's gonna be strong. We's gonna be mighty. We's gonna be Gungan.
The leaders of Otogunga cheer, praising their new emperor. As the days go by, Jar Jar starts to make his impact on the people, working them hard. He mandates conscription for all Gungan men, and he appoints Tarpals to be his Bombad general. All the while, he forces Nass to wait on him, serving Binks as Jar Jar had once done for him. While the plan of the Sith unfolds in the Grand Galactic Senate, Jar Jar continues to push his people closer towards the vision that his masters had for the galaxy of an aristocratic, powerful class, leading the weak to become stronger and embrace their destiny. Being a warrior people, the Gungans embrace Jar Jar's reforms. He's dedicated to building them up so that when the time comes, they could follow the vision of the Sith, helping his masters build their kingdom across the galaxy. When they succeeded, Darth Vengeance and the Gungan people would be at the top of the food chain, bringing peace and stability to a galaxy that had been polluted by the weakness of the Jedi. As Jar Jar consolidates his empire, he watches as Maul, Sidious, and Plagueis do the same, continuing to further their agenda in the Galactic Senate and the criminal underworld. He communes with them frequently, hearing about their plans coming to fruition. Soon, when the time was right, Binks would reveal himself to the entire galaxy. Binks had grown into the powerful figure that he had always dreamed of. Now, he would have the opportunity to settle in and become one of the most powerful men in the galaxy. Meanwhile, across the stars, the Bantha is beginning to settle in for the night. He's had a wonderful day tending to his clan, which had slowly been building since he had been speaking with people in town who wanted something fresh. They'd been training in old Mandalorian fighting techniques, tending to the Bantha flock, and the Bantha had been telling them stories every single night of the old days that had been passed down throughout the centuries. As he felt satisfied, being the head of his clan, he started to take off his armor, ready to rest for the day. However, just as he's about to do so, he feels a pull in his mind from a familiar presence. It's the Will. "I need you, Bantha," the ethereal voice whispers into his mind. The Bantha sighs. "Right now, I was just about to sleep. Mandalorians value rest too," he grumbles. A doorway opens in front of him, revealing the surreal dimension of the world between worlds. "I'll take that as a yes," he says, grabbing the darksaber from his nightstand and placing his helmet back on his head. The Bantha fastens his new crest to his chest too. It's a picture of a Bantha, a signet that he'd given himself after he had adopted his first new Mandalorian foundling. As head of the clan, it was his duty to carry it with pride. "What's going on now?" the Bantha asks. The Will appears before him as he walks through the doorway, entering the world between worlds. "Jar Jar Binks is becoming a Sith Lord," the Will replies. For a moment, the Bantha thinks that his spiritual guide is joking. He lets out a soft chuckle. Then, he realizes that the Will isn't laughing. "Wait, you're not joking? The Gungan who served as representative in the Senate and almost ruined every function that he attended is becoming a Sith?" The Will nods. "Well," the Bantha says, shaking his head, "this job certainly never gets any less weird. All right, show me where to go, and I'll do my best to set things right."